going to be making plain yellow cupcakes with a chocolate buttercream frosting, and I will also be giving you a few piping tips. Enjoy! Ingredients. First step, you need 1 3/4 cup all-purpose flour, a cup of sugar, 4 teaspoons baking powder, 4 teaspoons salt, 12 tablespoons or 1½ sticks unsalted butter, cut and softened, 3 large eggs, 3/4 cup of milk, teaspoons vanilla extract, and that's all of our ingredients. Let's get baking! Step 1. Make sure you have an oven rack in the middle of your oven and preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Line your cupcake tin with your cupcake wrappers. Or another option there is to just spray it with some coconut oil spray. Alright, now we're going to set this aside and move on to our next step. Alright, now in the bowl of a stand mixer, or just a large bowl if you don't have a stand mixer, you are going to put in the flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. Now we're going to mix together all those dry ingredients in a stand mixer on low. Alright, we're just about done. And now we're going to move on to the next step. Now before we move on to our next step, if you are using a stand mixer, you are going to take off the whisk attachment and you are going to put on the paddle attachment. Again, this is only if you are using a stand mixer. If you are using a hand mixer, then don't worry about it. Alright, now for our next step, we are going to add in the butter. So put the mixer on low and then add in the butter chunks one at a time. Alright, and you are going to beat this until the mixture looks like coarse sand, so about 1 minute. Alright, so that has started to look like coarse sand, so I'm going to stop the mixer. Alright, now we are going to add our eggs one at a time. And then before we do the next one, we are going to mix this up. Alright, then next egg. Mix that. Alright, and final egg. Starting to look like a batter. And mix that. Alright, now we are going to add our milk. As well as our vanilla. And then we are going to mix this until light and fluffy, about 2 minutes. Oh. Alright, so it has been about 2 minutes and the mixture is looking light and fluffy. So we are going to remove this from the stand mixer and scrape down any excess flour with a spatula. So I am now scraping down the sides of my batter, just like so. Alright. Looks pretty good. Alright, so now we are going to use our 3rd cup dry measuring cup. Make sure that there is nothing in it, to scoop our batter into our cupcake tins. Now you may need to use a spatula to get it out. Alright, so now that I have filled all of these, what you want to do is go around and make sure that there's not a lot of, at least get as much excess batter that is on the edges around it off, because that stuff will burn and stay on here. And now we are going to put it in the oven. Alright, so they go in the oven for about 24 to 22 minutes, or until a toothpick comes out clean. So I'm just putting them in the oven here, in around the middle rack. And then I'm going to set a timer for 22 minutes. And then I will just wait. So it's the next day and the cupcakes have completely cooled, and so now we are going to start on the frosting. The ingredients are 1 cup or 2 sticks unsalted butter, and make sure that it's softened. Otherwise the buttercream won't work. 3.5 cups powdered sugar, and I would suggest sifting this. 1 cup unsweetened cacao powder, 3 tablespoons of milk, 1/4 teaspoon salt, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And that's all the ingredients. Let's get started. Alright, so we're back to our nice old stand mixer here. And the first thing we are going to add is our butter. So just unwrapping it here. And we're going to add in all of our butter. So first stick. And our second stick. And all in all, this is a full cup of butter. Gotta get all the butter off the thing, or as much as we can at least. And then we are going to cream the butter in. Alright, so the butter is done creaming, and now what we're going to add in is our confectioner's sugar, or powdered sugar. Alright, so we are going to add this in 1 cup at a time, or just not exactly a cup, just like a little at a time, I guess. I'm just using a cup measurement to make sure I'm only adding a little bit. Now we are going to mix that in. Alright, now we're going to add in the next bit. Okay, mix that. Alright, and then the next bit, and we're just going to keep adding And we're just going to keep doing this until we have added all of the powdered sugar. So I will come back when I've added it all. Alright, so it may be looking a little bit dry right now, but that's okay. And now we are going to move on to our next ingredient to add in. Alright, now we are going to add in our cacao powder. So we're just going to dump that in. And mix it up on low until it is fully combined. Alright, so now the cacao powder is fully incorporated, and so we are going to move on to the next ingredient, which is milk. So I have the milk, and you're just going to add that in, like so. And then while you're at it, you're also going to want to add in the salt and vanilla. So vanilla, and salt. And then you're going to mix that until it's all incorporated. Alright, so it's fully incorporated and it is definitely looking like delicious frosting. There's still a little bit of it that is not done, incorporated, and actually I have already went around and done this. This is just the parts I forgot to get. But you will want to go around with a spatula and scrape down the sides and things like that, especially if you're using a stand mixer, so that half of it is not like salty things that isn't salty butter thing, like kind of thing that is not mixed in. But as I said, I've already done that, so yeah. So the frosting is done. So now what we are going to do is we are going to put it on the cupcakes. So frosting is done, and you may be wondering what all this fancy stuff is. Well, for one, this is a turntable, and then this is some piping supplies. So I got this piping kit along with the turntable off Amazon. I'm sure you could find it too. But the first things are these things. These are for smoothing off the edges of a cake. So we aren't using those because these are cupcakes. This is for a cake, you know. But yeah, and then the blue piping bags are reusable. So these you just wash out, and then you can use them over and over again. And then these ones are the throwaway ones, the disposable piping bags. And finally, in here are tips. So there are lots of different tips. And then these two very important pieces. Here, I'll show you. So they're called couplers or couplers. So what you do, hang on, I'm gonna grab a tip. Just a random tip. So what you do is you put this one, the bigger one, in the piping bag, and then you put this on the outside of the piping bag, and then you screw it on so that it stays on, and you can pipe. So that's pretty cool. That's what those are. And do not lose these. I almost lost them once, but if you lose them, then you can't really pipe unless you replace them. So yeah. Right. So before we begin piping, we are going to pick the tip that we want. I think that I would like K27, which looks like that one, because I like that like rosette look. So I'm going to find K27, and they say them on the sides. So alright, I'm going going to find that one. Alright, so I've actually taken a look back, and I have decided that I want to use K36 instead. It kind of does the same thing, but also I could not find my K27. I'll take a deeper look later, but for now, I looked at all of them, and this one is pretty close, and it also makes a pretty cool design pattern. So, that's what the one we're gonna use. Alright, so now we're gonna put together our piping bag. So the first thing you want to do is put the coupler in. So I actually have not cut this fully, so I am gonna go do that real quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I've cut this better. The goal to cutting it, they don't come cut, weirdly. The goal to cutting it, that's a bit of a messy cut, is to make it so that the coupler and the piping bag are kind of in the same spot like that. So yeah. Alright, so now we're going to put the piping tip on the outside, and then you're going to screw your other coupler onto it. Just like so. Alright, I have a cup here because I found that it is easier to do this and then pull the piping bag around it. So then you have a nice open area to scoop your frosting into. Right. So now we are going to start scooping our frosting into here, just like so. And we're just going to continue doing that until it fills up enough of the way that we can pipe it onto our cupcakes. Alright, so we have this all filled, and what you're going to do is push it all to like the bottom and then twist it up here, and then how you're going to pipe is just, you're going to squeeze it in the middle, and then you're just going to sort of let it come out, but you want to make sure that you have it held up here. And sometimes it takes a little bit of encouragement to come out for the first time, but then it comes out just fine. So we're gonna just pipe around all of the cupcakes until they are finished. Alright, so we finished the cupcakes and they look pretty good. Halloween cupcakes. And now I'm going to try them. I definitely recommend it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!